In my lifetime, I have seen Leo Messi, LeBron James, Novak Djokovic, and the likes. Greats of their sports, you name it. But today, I'm going to be talking about the stars that will be shaping the future of sports. And I'll be going into two sports in particular, athletics and boxing. So guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'll be talking about the stars of the future in the beautiful world of sports. And I'm going to start with Moses Itauma, a heavyweight boxer. Now, for those of you who have not heard of this guy, he is the real deal, I tell you. He's 20 years old with an unbeaten amateur record of 24 wins. 11 wins by knockout. Guys, this guy is devastating. Now, a story, everybody has a story. So this is a little bit of his story. He was born in Slovakia to a Nigerian father and a Slovakian mother, raised for a few years, and then his family moved to the UK. And he did make mention of how, his family suffered some type of racism because he always didn't fit, he was largely they were largely the only black or mixed race person in their community. And obviously that's a sad story, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the prodigy that is Moses Itauma, a heavyweight boxer that's, he's just 20 years old and is already very close, guys, very, very close to being the heavyweight champion. Now, this guy, he is a southpaw, and for those of you who don't know what that means, in boxing basically means that his primary striking hand is the left hand, which means he's a bit different because southpaws are not as common as orthodox boxers who have their primary striking hand to be their right hand. And southpaws are generally left-handed people, right? Or usually left-handed people. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall. He's a giant of a man. He has a reach of 79 inches, which is one of, the longest reaches for a heavyweight. And when you see this guy, I think when I've watched him fight, the first time I watched him fight, I didn't think he was that big. I don't know, there's something about the way he looks when he's entering the ring and before he's about to fight or before he takes off his outfit that he wears, right? But when he took off the outfit he wore, I felt like he looked even much more bigger. And maybe because he's fighting against boxers that are equally as tall, it didn't also feel like he was tall enough. But guys, this dude is 6 feet 4 inches tall, right? And he's big. And this guy was introduced to boxing, also part of his story, by his brother Carol Itauma, who is also a boxer, a light heavyweight boxer. He said when he was younger that he preferred football, but when he first got introduced to boxing, he trained for a bit and then he left. He didn't really take it serious because he wanted to play football. But then he came back to boxing, and since then, his rise has been meteoric. He has knocked out so many people, that have, his last fight against Mike Balogun, also a Nigerian, a person of Nigerian roots, an American of Nigerian roots, who had a record of 20-1, I think, knocked him out in round 2. I'm telling you guys, this guy is the real deal. If you don't believe me, just continue watching this video. At the end, I'm sure you will know why I speak so highly of him. Now, this guy has done it at amateur level now, has now gone pro. He has a professional record of 12 wins. And similar to his amateur record, there is so many knockouts. Even more impressive, there are 10 wins by knockout. That means that, guys, and that's not even the most impressive part, right? All his knockouts do not exceed the second round. All his knockouts so far, which means that if this guy is going to knock you out, you're not going past the second round. Guys, when I watch this guy fight, he seems like he doesn't fight like a heavyweight. I mean, it's because he's still very young, because The average age for a heavyweight, except if you're Mike Tyson, who was the youngest heavyweight boxer in history, the average age for a heavyweight to hit this level of perfection, right, or to be this good, is not 20 years old. Mike Tyson is an anomaly, an exception. This guy is 20 years old. The way he fights is really, really quick with the fist. And I've seen the way he feints jabs. This guy, I'm telling you guys, if you're a fan of combat sports or boxing, look out for this guy, because he's going to be a problem in the next few years. Moses Itauma is going to be a big problem. There is something that the commentator said, one of the commentators during his fight said he moves like a middleweight and he punches like a heavyweight. Now, if you watch combat sports well, you know exactly what that means. Middleweights obviously are not as heavy as heavyweight. They're not as big as heavyweight. So they are obviously more faster. If you watch middleweight boxing or combat sports, you know that in middleweight there's more punches and the punches are thrown much more faster. In heavyweight, they rely more on power. But this guy has everything. He has the power, he has the smartness, knows how to feint, and when to dodge, and when to clinch, and when to go all in, and when to even go for the knockouts, as at this time. Currently, once he senses a knockout, he's going for it, because he knows he's going to knock the fighter out. I mean, over time, maybe as time goes on, you face more elite fighters, but as of now, he's not scared to go for the knockout. He knows when to go for the knockout. And he's so quick. When I watched a couple of fights that he has been involved in, I tend to not see the strike that knocks out the opponent. I have to watch it on replay, on slow-mo. That's how fast he is with his striking. Like, he has power and, he's really fast with his hands. And guys, I'm telling you, right, this guy is so good that apparently the heavyweights in the division are ducking him. He has trained with some of the best. Lawrence Okoli, one person that is also a big name in British boxing at the moment. Interestingly, he has also sparred with the boxing heavyweight great Tyson Fury, the former champion. So this guy knows he's not just good, and he's also signed to Frank Warren's promotion. Frank Warren, a big name promoter in British boxing and world boxing generally. So he's really good. He's connected to the right people, and he has trained with the best of the best. So much so that there is some story, or maybe it's a rumor, that the elites in the heavyweight category are ducking him. They're scared of this guy because he's the new kid on the block that nobody wants to fight. Especially if you're already an established fighter, you kind of feel like, what's in it for me? He can't get me enough money that maybe fighting a Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua will get me. Only for me to get knocked out, possibly in the third round, and be such a stain on my record. So the heavyweight fighters are ducking Moses Itauma, guys. Anyways, he's due to fight on the 16th of August, his next fight against Dillian Whyte, who is also a big name in British boxing, heavyweight, who has fought the likes of Anthony Joshua and I think Joseph Parker and a lot of other big names. And this is his biggest fight till date. Dillian Whyte, who is towards the end of his career, I think in his late 30s, if I'm correct. And you have a Moses Itauma, who is just 20 years old with devastating knockout power. Guys, I'm scared for Dillian Whyte in this fight because I've seen Dillian Whyte suffer devastating knockouts before. And the only thing that could be worse than what I've seen is fighting a Moses Itauma who has that power and who has the pace. I think it will be a early night for Dillian Whyte. I think he will go home early in that fight because Moses Itauma is the next in line. This guy, guys, you've seen me talk about Alexander Usyk in one of my last videos. But I'm telling you, Moses Itauma is an upgraded version of Alexander Usyk. This guy feints the jabs so quick and so smart knows when to go for the knockout, has devastating knockout power, and the knockouts are so quick, the fighters don't even see it coming. This guy, I tell you guys, is going to be the next big thing from heavyweight boxing. Note the name, Moses Itauma, a Nigerian, Slovakian, British, whatever, born in Slovakia to a Nigerian father and a Slovakian mother, spent most of his life in the UK. So he has multiple nationalities. But that aside, this guy is going to be a problem in heavyweight boxing. So that's all about Moses Itauma for now. Now let's go to the second name out of sprint racing athletics. Now I've known this guy, this dude, or this kid, because she's literally a kid, I've known this guy for about a year or over a year, just over a year. But I've been keeping tabs on him a bit, not too much, but I notice when he makes like a huge achievement in maybe breaks a record, or because he's already breaking records, by the way, maybe he does something nice, it goes viral, I see it, and I'm already familiar with the name. But part of the reason I made this video was because a follower of mine and someone I used to know told me to speak about this guy. And I said, okay, why not? Let's do it. If you know me, I like to do this. I like to spotlight certain things like this. So I said, let's do this. So guys, the name is Gout Gout, according to what his father said. Because if you see the name, normally it is spelled Gout, which could and is usually pronounced as gout, or with the Australian accent, gout. But his father said his name is Gout, and the reason why the name is misspelled and mispronounced is because of a translation issue some time ago or sometime like that, and he's hoping that the name will be changed officially one day and all of that. But anyways, that's by the way. What we're about to talk about here is a sprint racing prodigy that could be greater than Usain Bolt, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not capping here. This dude is 17 years old and born and raised in Australia with origins from South Sudan. That's where his parents are from. Now, his personal best in the 100 meters is 10.17 seconds. And at the age of 17, that's quite impressive, which means, he will still get better. He will still get faster. So there's so much more he can do. However, something interesting that I've noticed, and that because I watched an interview he was on recently. Something interesting I noticed is that the 100 meters is not necessarily his favorite race to run. It kind of favors the 200 meters more, which is where he has a more notable record, I would say. His personal best in the 200 meters is a time of 20.04 seconds, which is very impressive, but that's not where it ends. Guys, that time beats a 57-year-old Oceania record set by Peter Norman, an Australian athlete, in the 1960s, I think. Gout's time beats that record. Peter Norman's record was 20.06 seconds, an Oceania record that stood for 57 years. And guys, it was broken by a 17-year-old. Now, you know what impresses me the most about this? One of the things that impressed me the most about this guy is the fact that, so I'm familiar with athletics to a good extent, but I don't know Australia to be a country that produces spectacular sprint racing athletes. And what I'm trying to say here is that, guys, if you watch sprint racing or athletics generally, you will know that certain countries are known for certain events or things, like just the way, the East Africans, Kenya, Ethiopia, maybe Uganda, are known for the long distance races, 5,000 meters, the 10,000 meters, and the 15,000 meters, the marathons, the likes of Eliud Kipchoge and all of that. And then the Jamaicans and maybe Black Americans and maybe Caribbeans are known for the sprint races, the 100 meters, the 200 meters. A lot of big names there come from that part of the world. Now, in history and in my own lifetime, I've never really heard of a sprint racing talent this good coming out of Australia. So, two of the reasons I would say he's going to become a big name is obviously genetics. You see the guy's body frame and you just kind of feel like he was built to play a sport. The guy said on the interview I watched that when he had started training around 2020, but he wasn't really taking it serious then because he was considering other options in football and basketball, which kind of favors his genes. He's from a tribe in South Sudan called Dinka tribe, which are known to produce the tallest people in the world, if I'm correct. And there's been a history of, I think, one or two people from that part of the world playing in the NBA. I think one of them was the tallest player ever to play in the NBA or so. So you can see why he considered basketball. But apart from that, it's notable that Australia generally does not excel in producing 100-meter or 200 short sprint racing athletes at this level because he's just 17. I think he will be 18 in December 2025. So, which means that his potential is way above this guy. Anyways, let's go on to, the fact that he also runs the 400 meters. Now, this guy is a sprint racing athlete that kind of likes to run the 400 meters as well. I'm not sure why, because a lot of sprint racing athletes that are big names mostly run the 100 meters, 200 meters, and the 4x1. But I think he's still very young, so he's trying to probably figure out where exactly he would be best fit for. But his personal best in the 400 meters is currently a time of 46.20 seconds, which means he also has potential in that aspect. Now, for the future of this guy, his immediate future, this month, June 2025, he's going to compete. In fact, very soon, he's going to compete in his first. He's going to make his European debut in Ostrava, Czechia, or as also known as Czech Republic, in an athletics competition. I can't remember the name now. Then he would go on to compete in the Diamond League in next month, July 2025. And then later this year, he will be making his debut in the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, Japan in September. And that's where things will get really, really serious. Because he has already qualified for the 200 meters of that competition. Now, that means that he could potentially be going up against the likes of Noah Lyles. Noah Lyles, who, interestingly, was on that interview with him kind of like as a host. So they are already getting acclimatized to each other, but they're definitely going to be opponents in the future. And, of course, Leslie Tebogo, the current 200-meter Olympic champion from Botswana. So there's big names in that. Leslie Tebogo also still in his early 20s, I think, by the way. So Gout has a lot of competition. So, but this guy, I am so sure he's going to live up to potential as long as he keeps training, as long as he keeps listening to his coaches and following the right path. When I heard him speak on the interview, I saw him as a young man who had a clear vision of what he wanted to achieve, where he set his sights on, and is someone who recognizes talents that he possesses, and he talked a little bit about his weekly schedule of training and how he was able to balance school, because he's just 17, he's still going to school. I think he's his final year of high school or something now. So obviously there's times he has to leave school and go to compete, but so far he has been able to handle it well. And he did make mention that his grades are also quite good, which is a good thing, because he has something else to fall back on, even if he's potentially done with athletics and all of that. So guys, for now, that is everything about squats. And in today's video, I've talked about two talents that you guys should look forward to. They're not just promising, they are already in the limelight. So if you are a fan of combat sports and you've not heard of Moses Itauma by now, I'm not sure what you're watching, but you need to watch him. As well, if you are a fan of sprint racing, athletics, and you've not heard of gout, as his father pronounces it, I'm not going to pronounce it gout, because I believe that if there's anyone who knows his name best, it's his father, his parents. And even he pronounces his name as gout, I think, I'm not sure. But anyways, if you've not heard of that guy as well, and he claims to be a fan of sprint racing athletics, I don't know what you're watching, but you need to go watch that guy. So guys, that brings me to the end of today's video. And as usual, thank you guys for watching so far. I want to thank everyone who has been watching my videos and all the subscribers of my channel, all 73 of you currently, because I know the exact number. I want to thank everyone that's been watching. And if you enjoyed this video, you know the drill. Share to all football fans and share to all sports fans, because there's no football involved in this. I talk about football a lot, so I'm a bit too focused on football. Share to all sports fans and even football fans. Football fans are sports fans as well, and everyone basically. And thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys very soon, very soon, I assure you, in my next video. Bye for now.